Damn, Spinny. It's been almost 2 weeks. I'm not going to wait any longer, though. Spinny, go ahead. Let it out. Let it out. Let the
Let's
celebration out.
go! Let's go. The boys got the dub. The second boys got the dub. Congrats to all of them. And we're going to hear from Jack here in a second, and then we're going to talk this more. Bus, I forgot to mention this so we're going to do this right now. I would love to flip and talk about the finals first because we just got to do it. So
Let's
let's
do
hear
it, man.
from Jack, and then let's talk
Let's
the
do it.
finals. Let's go. All right, I'm messing all kinds of things up today.
Yeah,
So
episode
first,
106. I think you got a
episode
pretty interesting
106.
story, man. Let's hear it.
We do. I just had to shout out to my mother-in-law for this story. I just had to freak her out a little bit and wait until after the music, so she
After
thought
the
I
music,
forgot.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna talk about the Steel Grandpa today. Who's the Steel Grandpa? Steel Grandpa, 66-year-old Swedish guy, 1951, who won a 1,000-mile bike race. 5 days, 200 miles a day. Was not allowed to enter because doctors didn't clear him. So he left at the same time as everyone else left, and he won the whole race. And he won the race by over a whole day. So he was like an insane amount ahead of everybody else. Absolutely crazy story. Guy lived to be 106, another 40 years after
Of
this
course he
race
did.
happened. And so that is episode 106. Shout out to our man. We're gonna try to pronounce his name.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's
So
hear it.
let's hear it for Gustav Hanakeson. Hackanison. I don't know. That was real bad. Sorry to all the Swedes listening to this pod because I just
Gustav. We'll just
roasted
call him
that.
Gustav.
Gustav. Our
Episode
boy
106.
the Grandpa Gustav episode. Did turn out though, he didn't sleep as long as them. So a little bit of an unfair advantage for him, but also won by 24 hours. So
You want, yeah, who
it's give and
cares?
take.
Yeah,
Got super famous, got to meet like the king of Sweden and became like the super famous, and then they wrote this childhood storybook about him, which sold millions of copies. So
hell yeah.
absolutely crazy.
The Gustav episode 106. We got to start this episode off talking the NBA Finals since Spinny is so damn excited. Let me Spinny run through quick the games
Yeah.
for the fans. Game 1, Celtics killed 107-89. Luka and Kyrie were benched with 5 minutes left in the game. Basically, that game came down to who made more threes, right? At that point, when the white flag was thrown, the Mavs were 5 for 24 from deep. The Celtics were 16 for 41. So 11 more made threes by Celtics. There's the game there. Interesting note, though, 10.99 million average viewers. That's the least watched finals opening game since 2007, not including the COVID seasons. So that's interesting stat there. Game 2, Celtics sweep by 105-98. Kyrie started hot. Everyone thought, oh, maybe this is the Kyrie game. Then he just completely fell off. Started 4 for 5. Finished 7 for 18. Luka went nuts this game, 32, 11, and 11. But the biggest story was Drew Holiday, 9 for 9 in the paint, 26 and 11. This was the Drew Holiday game, game 2. Game 3, this was the game that the Celtics almost blew. They had a 21-point lead in the fourth quarter, which the Mavs cut to 2. Basically just because the Celtics taking, their classic bad shots. That's the only reason why the Mavs came back, in my opinion, in that game. Luka falls out in the game with 4 minutes left, too. Not a good look. Another weird thing that happened in this fourth quarter is Jason Kidd calling a timeout when the Mavs were on a 20-2 run. I did not understand that at all. Luka was pissed when he did that. Brown and Tatum combined for 31 in Game 3. Game 4, blowout city. Mavs won by 38. When Luka was 0 for 8 from deep. That's insane. That team could win by 38, basically 40 points when their best player almost went 0 for 10 from deep. But your Jays, Spinny, Jalen, and Jason combined 5 for 17 on contested jumpers, which leads us to last night. The Celtics, it was all Celtics from start to finish last night as well. You could tell they were very motivated to put that one away. Tatum kind of led the way for them in that one. Double-digit assists for him. But it was a across the board effort. A lot of people in double digits scoring for the Celtics. Spinny, let's hear your thoughts, man. Just tell me your initial thoughts when the buzzer finally sounded last night.
Damn. I just
About time, huh?
It just feels like 6 years running, you know? I
Right.
feel like it's like 2019 might be a year early, but that was the first year I felt like they had a legitimate chance of winning the championship. Obviously, a couple of conference finals before that. But then 20, 21, 22, finally breaking the hump and making it. 23, thinking, or where? Yeah. The
22,
championship
they
was,
made it.
yep. And then 23, it was like, wow, we're going to really do it this year. It's going to be us in Denver. It's going to be a dogfight of a series. And then you go down 3-0 to Miami, and you're like, wow, we really just choked it like that. And then they get your hopes up to bring you all the way back, and then
Yeah.
can't make it happen in Game 7. Just
Get
break
your hopes up
everyone's.
twice in one series.
Yeah, insane. And then this year, they were great start to finish. Everybody. Tatum was the best player the whole regular season. He really had a great year, and lots of improvements from Jaylen Brown. I think I kind of was hard on him a little earlier on the pod, but I think the left hand has finally improved, and I don't know if it's something teams can target anymore. Now, is it his best move? Obviously not, but the ability to make big shots at the end of the games and the ability to like take over and do that stuff is way more of Jalen's things than Jason. We've seen it. We've seen it for 2 playoffs, 3 playoffs now. That
Yep.
Brown is just better at it. He's better at shot selection, considerably better at shot selection.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing there.
And the mid-range jumper. You know, we saw that in Game 3 to kind of ice that one. Those two contested mid-range daggers from Jalen. And so, yeah, lots of happenings in that series, but it was finally good to see them break through. It's like it's finally happened. We finally proved the anti-Jason and Jalen people wrong.
Yeah. Just want to reiterate the key point you said that they were dominated from start to finish, because I know that there's going to be people out there, probably on your first takes of the world, that are going to somehow spin this into the Celtics face nobody. This was a Mickey Mouse type of ring. They have to prove it again next year. It's like they went 16-3 in the playoffs. They lost 3 games only. That's it.
They never went past Game 5. They never
Never.
played in a Game 6 in the whole playoffs.
They lost 1 road game all playoffs. 1. That was to the Mavericks.
Yeah.
That's it. It was a truly dominant run. They did what they were supposed to do from start to finish. Let's talk a little bit about the matchups and the game plan specifically. Kind of get your thoughts on this. So for the Celtics, they had, for the majority of the time, Jalen on Luka, Drew on Kyrie, Tatum on Gafford. We kind of expected that coming in. I remember mentioning that they would put Tatum on the 5-man so that he could be switching in the majority of screens. That gave them a lot of issues at first, because they would have to send Derek Jones up there to set screens to get Horford switched onto Luka. But Derek Jones is just not as good of a screen setter as Gafford. So they would usually just get through clean without even having to switch in that situation. Celtics, like I said, were switching the majority of the actions. They were also making it really tough on Kyrie and Luka, forcing one-on-one contested jumpers all series. They did not double. They stuck onto the role players so that the role players couldn't get off themselves. And offensively, they looked to beat the Mavs with the pass rather than dribble. That's the recipe for success for the Celtics this whole season. They move the ball very well instead of catching it, holding it, or dribbling too much. They're constantly moving the ball around, and that's why you see so many beautiful offensive possessions by the Celtics. And then also, they're obviously putting Luka and Kyrie in actions consistently. That was one of your biggest points, Spinny, from our finals preview episode, was to put those two guys in actions consistently. So obviously, now that they won, it's easy to say, yes, their matchups, their game plan, everything was good. But Spinny, did anything stand out to you that was kind of worrisome from a game plan standpoint, Celtics wise, or did you like the way they did it from the get go?
First of all, a couple things I want to push back on. There was a ton of Drew on Luka and Jalen on Kyrie as well.
Right.
Especially
Same.
later in the series, they kind of like flipped that, which I thought was good because Drew was D'ing Luka up in a different way. Drew was different in this series, like especially going into game three. Game three was his bad game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Going into game three, it was like, wow, Drew Holiday really could win MVP. Could really win Finals MVP. So, and then what was the other thing I wanted to push back or wanted to say? Oh, this was not a pushback. This was just what I wanted to say. Also, just the consistent 5-game not letting them shoot corner threes. I will
Yep.
give you wide open threes from the wing. Like nobody's going there, PJ Washington. And if we can guard the corner three. So I thought that was good as well. There was not a ton I was concerned about other than the non-helping and the ability to guard Luka one-on-one, but they did such a good job, especially with the little mini help from the big when Porzingis was playing, especially made a huge difference. Another thing, Tatum's rebounding, thought that made a huge difference. He did it all playoffs, but he, led the season, points, rebounds, and assists in the series. Yeah.
I want to also note that they picked up the ball handle, usually Luka, obviously, full court. That was a great idea by the Celtics. Get him worn out even more. So you're making him battle constantly on the defensive end by putting him in actions. And then when you make a bucket, you're already there in his grill picking up full court, and they're not even getting in their action until, 15, 16 seconds left, sometimes as low as like 12 seconds left on the shot clock. So those were great strategies by the Celtics. And you didn't really see them switch much, right? Because everything was working for them from the get-go. So they didn't have to make too many adjustments in this series. And
no,
I was kind of with you. I thought the no doubling on Kyrie and Luka was going to be worrisome, but their one-on-one defense was just so incredible. And when you have 4 elite perimeter defenders and your ability to switch ball screens and handoffs and everything is elite as well, that is definitely a recipe for success. So that was definitely the right game plan for the Celtics, even though I wish the T-Wolves would have tried that a little more one-on-one rather than – because think about all the other Mavs series. The role players got off because deep doubles were being sent. They're getting wide open shots. They see a couple knocked down, and then they're finally getting in a rhythm. They could never get in a rhythm. There was a time in, I think I want to say game 3, PJ Washington finally caught it in the corner wide open, but he had been so used to guys being there that he just drove straight into a defender instead of catching and shooting it, because that's just what he was used to. So yeah, I loved everything Celtics game plan wise for sure.
And the moment was too big for Derek Lively in game 1 and games 2, which is such a shame because he turned it around and played great in the rest of the series.
Yeah.
But that was hard, I think, for them. I think there's a chance they could win one of those 2 games, really, if game 2, not game 1, obviously, but I think there's a real chance they can win game 2 if Lively was effective in the way you want him to be.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. He would ended up being the youngest player in finals history to record a double-double. As you said, he kind of got going there at the end of the series.
He's going to be good, though.
He's going to be good. I like his energy, his attitude on the court. He's definitely all about winning, and he plays so hard. I just love watching it.
So hard.
Biggest issue for the Mavs was Kyrie Irving. He was just a complete no-show in a number of these games. I mean, he only went off in game 4, the game they won by 40, so it's who really cares? He was literally a complete no-show in all these games. Let's jump to the Mavs, though, since we're on Kyrie. Kyrie guarded White. Luka guarded Drew. This was expected. We kind of predicted that in our preview episode. Derek Jones on Tatum. That was obviously also expected. One interesting aspect, when they were on the offensive end, I did not expect to see this as much as I did, but they were putting Tatum in actions nonstop. They were hunting Tatum, which I found that very interesting, but it makes sense given the defensive caliber of White, Drew, and Jaylen Brown. I would say those three are all better defenders than Jason Tatum. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would mostly agree. I mean,
Depending on where on the court, right? Obviously, Tatum's going to be better in the post. But
Holiday's field goal percentage given up as the primary defender in games 1 through 4 was 58%.
really,
So yes, I know there was a lot. Drew from the stocks perspective did really good, and from the watching the game perspective. But when you look at some of the analytics, it wasn't as great as you thought. But yeah, Drew and White, really good defenders. I would argue Jalen's maybe a little bit of a step down from that, and Tatum's maybe a quarter of a step down from that. But I think Jalen and Tatum are pretty negligible when it comes to defense. But I would give the advantage to Jalen.
they also were hunting other players, obviously, on the switch, given Celtics are literally switching everything. They were hunting Hauser and Horford, especially. Spinny, how about your man Hauser switching on to Luka and getting some key stops in a couple of these games? He literally stripped Luka.
Hauser went full Kyle Anderson on Luca. It's awesome. It's awesome to see guys like that aren't fast or can't guard a lick
They can
playing
match
good
his speed,
defense
yeah.
on Luca because they can match his speed, and if you just stay disciplined, that was the biggest thing with him. Sammy also hit some crazy threes at key moments. Big shout out there. He had a series. It was
Yeah.
awesome. I hope it's not a Duncan Robinson type situation where we never see him again like this, and I hope he keeps improving and can be a solid enough defender to get a little more time because definitely a guy the C's want going forward. Also announced Al Horford, the Celtics governor, says that the big man plans to play an 18th season.
Of
So
course he does.
Horford back under contract another year as well, and everybody else back under contract. All top 6 guys plus Sam and Pritchard. So all those top 8 that played most of the minutes during the regular season will all be back next year.
They're going to be tough. That's for sure. One last Mavs game plan notes. Just like I said they should do in the preview episode. They packed the paint, forced contested jumpers. Celtics offense was just too good. They were too dialed in on rotating the ball, moving it around the court, getting the defense moving, that it didn't quite work because the defense was constantly having to rotate with the pressure that Celtics were putting on them with the pass. So I
The
thought that
5-out
was
was so effective.
so effective. Yes.
Dallas could not guard it.
I thought it was the right game plan. You kind of want to take the driving lanes away, right? But when they're that good at moving the ball with the pass rather than with the dribble, there's really nothing you can do when a team is that awesome on the offensive end.
Yeah, and Tatum was creating a lot on the blow by as well. You got to give
Yes.
him credit against Lively and Gafford and Luca, especially getting down there, making him double, passing it out. That was part of what I thought too would maybe give Tatum a little more advantage in that Finals MVP situation. Was a lot of the setup and the shot setup was from him in an up and down way. Sometimes he struggled and looked haphazard with it, but then there was also moments. There was also moments where he looked really good. So it was kind of a little up and down even on that end as well. But the up moments were so good.
Yeah, I totally agree with that point. Let's talk a little bit about why we think the Mavs lost and why the Celtics won. Obviously, we already touched on some points in that regard. One key reason, though, I think, is just the role players for the Mavs. They could not buy buckets. It's tough for them to get in a rhythm when they're only shooting 30% of the shots. I mean, these last couple of games, Kyrie and Luka were taking literally every shot. So it was really tough for the role players to get going in this series. And as you know, as a lot of NBA players have said that have won championships, these rings are won 6 through 10, not 1 through 5. So Role players not stepping up for the Mavs, that definitely is a reason why the Mavs lost. Another key reason, Spinny, in my opinion, too much iso ball. Luka and Kyrie kind of fell into that one-on-one trap. Oh, they only see one defender. I'm going to attack them. There was way too much iso ball, way too much dribbling for the Mavs. They did not pass the ball enough. And then they also did not take advantage of the poor Celtics possessions. I feel like you'd see a Jason Tatum step back contested three. They'd come back and do iso ball instead of like pushing the pace, trying to get out in transition, trying to get an easy bucket. Like they never capitalized on a poor Celtics possession. So those were the three biggest things that stood out to me as to why the Mavs lost.
Yeah, I mean, and to me, it wasn't the Mavs defense had some issues, but it wasn't the Mavs defense. So the Celtics, their lowest scoring 5-game stretch of the whole season. So they were 81 and 21, 81 and 21. And so 102 games. Their lowest 5-game scoring stretch was game 4. Sorry. Yes, game 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals through game 4 of the NBA Finals. Boston averaged 120 points a game for the regular season. They did not play well on the offensive end. That's what was so crazy. Is they did not play well on the offensive end and still won the game. So for me, it was a lot of offensive focus for Dallas and all the problems, because if they could have scored even in their normal range, it wouldn't have been off. And you talk about Kyrie Irving, 3 games in Boston, scored 12, 16, and 15. Shooting percentages in those games, 31, the one game 4, 55, 31, 38, 31. 12, 16, 15. Those were the 3 games in Boston. So Kyrie was struggling in Boston. They were in his head or something. I don't know. I kind of said before the series, right? And I was obviously wrong about how I thought he was going to ball in Boston, and that was we didn't want to be talking to Kyrie, but that was not the case in the series.
He's been bad against Boston since he left. Literally, I think he lost like 11 to 13 straight games before they won game 4 there against the Celtics. So Celtics have definitely had Kyrie's number for a while there. I completely agree, though. It was all Mavs offensive points. That's why I didn't say a single thing about their defense. Like, they were forcing tough contested jumpers. And as you pointed out with the points per game thing, that was honestly one of the worst stretches, if not the worst stretch offensively for the Celtics. They were below their 3-point percentage this entire series. So the Mavs were doing a solid job, at least a solid enough job on the defensive end. Sure, there could have been improvements, but they were right there if they were able to execute better on the offensive end. That's for sure. Now, why the Celtics won? Oh, go ahead. Make your point.
Well, you want to talk about scoring for the Mavs. So after Luke and Kyrie, PJ Washington, 40% from the field, 27% from 3. Daniel Gafford did some good things, so whatever. He was 72%, didn't take a 3. Take him out. Derek Jones, 43% from the field, 25% from 3. So those 2 guys, like they were getting open shots in a way, just not from the spots they liked, and that was exactly what their inability to score was a big reason for Dallas. But all right, let's go on to Celtics win. Sorry, I kind of just copied what you said a couple of times there. So
all right, so like I was saying, the Celtics obviously won. One reason was with their offensive ability, their insane passing, relentless attack on the offense. But I'm not even going to focus on the X's and O's and rather look at the intangible stuff. And that's more urgency. The Celtics just wanted it more. It's just plain and simple. Their 50-50 balls. I don't know if the Mavs won a single 50-50 ball in game 1. Just literally from the tip of this series, the Celtics wanted it more than the Mavs. Also, their body language was incredible. They never looked rattled at all in any moments of the game. The Mavs, however, constantly looked rattled. And the communication kind of ties in with the body language. The communication with each other. The teammates were constantly connected, working together. There was too many times I saw from the Mavs that Luka's bitching to the refs, not even working with his teammates on trying to figure out how to get the win or how to get the next defensive stop. You know what I mean? So all those little things just really they add up. The little things add up. That's not just in basketball. That's in every sport. Think about volleyball, Spinny. The little things you teach your players, they all add up. And there's reasons why you win and lose games, right? So in basketball, a lot of that is body language. It is your communication. It's your leadership. It's playing with urgency, your effort and attitude. All of those things, they just pile on. And the Celtics were much better in all those areas than the Mavs. So I think that's literally why they won.
I agree. That intangible stuff is always stuff players hate, it seems like.
Right. Yeah.
You know, they're like, why are you nagging on me about communication every single day, every single
Yeah.
minute? But like you said, those are the little things that get you over the top. I thought the Celtics were a better team going in, and they just
Same.
executed what they need to.
Yep.
Sorry, and contained Luka, kept Luka from going nuclear, basically. He got 30, that 30, what did he 38.8 rebounds, 5.6 assists. So they cut his assists down. You know, he got his 29, 30 points, but there was very few moments where he was like, oh shit, Luka, where you're just like, this guy can score, do whatever he wants. There's nothing we can do. There wasn't a ton of those moments in the series. So that was awesome. He just like got his nice methodical 30 as the game went on. I thought that ability by Boston was good. Also the coaching of Joe Mazzulla.
Yeah.
You got to give this man credit for the corner three game plan. You got to give him credit for the guarding the stars one-on-one game plan. All this game plan stuff that we've talked about is all Joe, right? Not all Joe. Obviously, the coaching staff all contribute to this. You know, they hired some really good Sam Cassell and some other really good assistant coaches. Jeff Van Gundy was an advisor there as well, just got the first assistant job with the Clippers today. So there was a lot of good coaches there as well, but Joe's got to get the biggest credit for this. And then on top of just all the game plan stuff, the timeout calling and the in-game coaching, the improvement in the last year from Joe Mazzulla has been like pretty incredible.
Yeah, he's able to read games much better now. Like you said, those timeouts at crucial spots, he can kind of sense when a run is maybe incoming, calls a timeout at a perfect spot, takes all the momentum away from the Mavs. Yeah, I was really impressed with Missoula in this series, which kind of leads to some of these questions I have for you, some of these storyline type questions. One being the biggest winners from this series. One of my answers was going to be Joe Mazzulla. This was a guy who a lot of people after last year's disappointing exit to the Heat were kind of calling for his job, didn't really even want him back, even though he was thrown in to the job last minute last season. Look what happens. He gets a full offseason preparing with these guys. They won a title right away in his first full offseason to prepare with the team. So I think one of the biggest winners from this series is for sure Joe Mazzulla.
Yeah, Mazzulla's on that list. I think Brown is on that list. I think he just became like a legitimate 1B on Boston. Like, I think there is a legitimate argument that Jaylen Brown is the best player on Boston, not Jason Tatum. Now, do I think that that's true? No, I don't. But now you can say that without, it's now at least plausible. Like, I can't,
Right.
it's not like a no chance you're an idiot, you don't watch basketball thing that I felt like it's been for the last couple years. Now it's at least like, okay, I'll entertain that. So
Yeah.
I think that's a huge win for Jaylen.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm going to kind of stick to the non-player role here. Brad Stevens. Let's give a round of applause to this man for assembling this roster. Holy moly, Spinny. Absolutely finessed the Derek White deal. Absolutely finessed the Drew Holiday deal. Got Porzingis and like a first or two in there for Marcus Smart. Just amazing deal after amazing deal for Brad Stevens to assemble this roster. Even going back to, I know he was the head coach at the time, but he obviously had a say in who they were drafting when they picked Jalen and Jason as well. So he's kind of assembled every single piece on this roster. So Brad Stevens, man, there's a reason why he won Executive of the Year this year. That's for damn sure. How about
Yeah, he
biggest
built a
loser,
great.
Spinny?
I got one more winner for you.
Okay.
NBA teams without top 20 all-time players. That's who won this year. Okay, is Tatum a top 5 player in the league? Yeah, you can probably say so. He's at least on that border now.
Right.
But Tatum's not a top 20 all-time NBA player right now. And
Yeah,
if you
that's true.
look at the last championships before this, let's just go through them really
Yeah,
fast if you
think
don't
about it.
mind.
Nuggets.
Jokic, top 20 player, 3-time MVP. Curry, top 20 player. Giannis, top 20 player. Who's the one in between LeBron and Giannis there? Kawhi, top 20 player, or at least when he's healthy, definite top 20 player.
Yeah.
LeBron,
Curry,
AD. Yeah, LeBron, Curry, KD. You have to go back to like pre-Warriors Cavs to get a champ, or even more, because Duncan's a top 20 player.
Dirk's a top 20
LeBron,
player.
yeah, Dirk's a top 20 player. I mean,
Yeah.
you got to go like back to the moon, potentially
Pistons,
even back to
basically.
the 04 Pistons
Yeah.
to get to the point where for sure top 20 player isn't on the NBA champion. So I think for roster building teams, for younger teams, for the Wolves, for teams that aren't like, I for sure have this top 20 player, I'm not in a for sure place where free agents will go. Now I know free agents will obviously go to Boston, but they didn't get any of those players by free agents. They traded or drafted all those players. It's just a hope that, and playing in a series against Luka, who's obviously the best player in the whole series, and they won. I mean that's just like when you're looking at that, it's like, wow, we have a chance. We're not just like screwing around here when we don't have a top 20 all-time player.
Yeah, that is a very interesting point. I did not think of that. You literally have to go back to the 04 Pistons.
Yeah.
Like, I'm almost positive on that. That's insane. Biggest losers from the series, Spinny. I'm gonna say it right away, man.
Did the 08 Celtics have a top 20 player?
I'd say KG's borderline.
Yeah, but he's probably not. So maybe it's the last. Maybe it's Boston championship to Boston championship. But
it could be. Yeah, that's a good point. Biggest loser, Spinny. I'm gonna say it right away, man. The Milwaukee Bucks. This is what you get for trading Drew frickin' Holiday. Like, what are we talking about here? What are we talking? I know you didn't trade him directly to the Celtics, but obviously the freaking Blazers, who are tanking, are not going to hold on to Drew Holiday. You know that he's going to get traded to a contender. And a player like that can push a team over the top, which had happened. So, Milwaukee Bucks, you just watched your biggest rival win a championship with a player that was on your team and won a championship for your team. So
that may make me smile more than anything.
Literally, I could not think of a bigger loser than the freaking Milwaukee Bucks, bro.
Wisconsin gets roasted.
Yes.
And the C's win the championship.
Let's go.
Let's absolutely go. I agree. That's a huge loss. Also, I wonder if they could have done that trade without Drew Holiday. Like, would it have been possible to do Middleton or a different one of those players, and you keep because Holiday and Dame, that's the ideal backcourt. Yes,
that definitely would have worked. Yeah.
So crazy from that perspective, also a little bit. Luka, obviously, is one of the losers in this series. Now, they wouldn't have been even close to here without him. And if they would have just lost this series, I don't know if I would have even put him on this list. But the ref complaining, all the stuff that has got brought up against Luka in this series, it's going to hang with him a little bit. There is a little bit of 07 LeBron here where we give him credit for bringing a crappy team here, but also there was some things about maturity and different things, not with LeBron. LeBron was more performance. This is more maturity that he struggled with, and that showed. And I think, you may have overestimated a little bit. Luka's just going to go nuts in this finals because there was definitely some misgivings from him, and the pressure got to him. It didn't come out in the form of him shutting down, but it came out into the form of him fouling out and him being unable to focus on the game itself.
That was all mental right there, him fouling out. He was searching for fouls because he wasn't getting them himself. Like he purposely fouled Pritchard
Like
for
the
his fourth foul.
The Peyton Pritchard one was
Yeah.
like, I'm just gonna reach in 10 times in a row and make you
What?
call
What are we in AAU right now?
it.
What are
Yeah.
we, freshmen in high school, Luka? Like, come on, bro. That's crazy. Yeah, that's true. He is a loser from that aspect. Marcus Smart is a loser coming from
Ah.
this series. Everyone kind of thought I made the point. I didn't necessarily make the point myself, but I remember asking you, Spinny, on the pod, what are the Celtics going to do losing their their voice, their leader, right? And you're like, well, they did this, so now Jason and Jalen can step up, right? I was kind of skeptical on how that was going to work, but then that was obviously pre-Drew Holiday trade, so that kind of changed things a little bit too. But still,
Yeah,
Marcus Smart,
Holiday definitely filled that role a bit.
yeah, Marcus Smart's just punching air right now after watching
Yeah,
that
he
series.
is.
So he's
After
definitely a
the
loser.
after the grind he went through to get the C's to this point,
That's
to
what
the
I'm
point they
saying.
were at, just to be dipped right before they win. So
Yeah.
tough.
I got one last loser for you, Spinny, because this one I
Okay.
know you're going to love as a Celtics fan. And the third biggest loser from this series is the Lakers and Laker fans. No more of this bullshit. Oh, we are tied with the Celtics for most titles in the NBA, even though 5 of our titles came when we were in Minneapolis. Blah, 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 blah. They never were in the lead, and now they officially aren't in the lead. So, Laker fans, you guys are all losers. That's tough for you guys.
Yeah, we do love that. I hate the Bucks more than the Lakers somehow. I think it's just my
It makes
Minnesota
sense,
in the
honestly.
East thing
Yeah.
coming out, but yeah, that is nice, and especially with their discount championships that aren't even theirs. And they, made the big argument, obviously, too. Like since 2000, the Lakers have been consistently better than the Celtics.
That's true.
And
They
now,
have been.
but now the Celtics have won again. They won in '08, and now they're winning in 24. So they're kind of bringing back that consistency, and we'll see if it can continue. I mean, I think there's at least a decent chance that the C's get another one here in the next couple of years.
I completely agree. One other question for you, and then we will jump to trivia. What will be the worst storylines that come out of this series? As I mentioned earlier, we're gonna see some of these on your first takes of the sports world and whatnot. What do any immediately come to your mind? Otherwise, I definitely got to go.
Just the anti-Luca ones, just the like Luca
Yeah, like
can't
you
lead
can't
a
win with
team to the
Luka now.
championship ones. Yeah, those are BS. I think and I don't know how much of it this is a straw man and how much of this will actually be a thing people say, but Jason and Jalen rivalry. I think
That's
that
what I'm saying.
whole
I have that written
like
down.
who's the
Whose
better
team is it?
player? Are
Yeah,
they mad at? Yeah, whose team is it? Blah 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 blah. Yeah, I think those are the main two.
yeah. We literally have the same ones written down, and then the one I made earlier, the Mickey Mouse ring, where they
Yeah.
need to prove it again because they went through an injured East. They faced a 5 seed in the finals. Like, who gives a shit? They played who
Yeah,
was in
I
front of
think.
them, and they dominated who was in front of them. So
Yeah,
who cares?
agreed. I think rings are rings for the most part, unless you're
Exactly.
the bubble, the rigged bubble
Oh,
championship.
get out of
Other
here! I
than
knew you
that,
were gonna
rings are
say that
rigged.
shit. I knew you were gonna say that shit. Well, actually, since we had the same ones, I was expecting that question to go a little longer. I'll quickly ask you this one: did they pick the right Finals MVP?
Yes, from the perspective of I'm giving the first 3 games way more weight than the second 2. Because I mean, after game 3, like
And it
the
was
pressure,
Jalen through 3 games. So
yeah, and the pressure isn't on anymore really for either team. Like the Mavs pretty much know they lost. They're gonna try to, you know,
they're gonna
let
try,
everything
but
out and go
yeah,
hard. And the C's like after they're up 3-0, like the pressure's all off of you at that point until Dallas wins at least 2 games. If it's 3-2 going back to Dallas, then you might start getting a little bit of pressure. But game 4 and game 5 are no pressure for them. And I think in those pressure moments of what the NBA Finals MVP is and the ability to push your team over in those moments, I'm going to give much weight to 1, 2, and 3. And I do think Jalen was better than Jason in those 3 for sure. And I don't think Jason did enough in game 4. Nobody did enough in game 4, but I don't think he did enough in game 5 to overcome that.
that was very well said. I couldn't agree more. It's crazy, like just to think that there was a chance that 3 different players could have won Finals MVP. Like that just blows my mind. Like if you just think about these past series, like The whole world knew it was Jokic last year. The whole world knew it was going to be Steph Curry. Everyone knew it was Giannis. Everyone knew it was Kawhi. Like, it's usually pretty set in stone. And so the fact that there was even this debate was interesting, in my opinion. Well, Spinny, I think it's time for me to continue my dominance and trivia. Kick your ass once again.
We're coming back.
Okay, Spinny. I will ask my easy question first. Name one of the top 2 players in points per game this playoffs. Notice I said points per game.
One more time.
You only have to name one of the top 2 players in this playoffs in points per game. Who are the top 2 scorers in this playoffs?
Luka's got to be
points,
one.
Not total points, points per game.
I still think Luka's got to be one. And then I'm going to go with, I get 2 guesses, right?
Yeah.
Luka and...
Who's getting hella buckets?
Who's getting hella buckets early on?
Really? I thought you were going to get this at a snap of a finger.
I'll go with Luka and Ant.
Incorrect. Both of them. Joel Embiid technically was the leader in points per game this playoffs in 6 games. He had scored like 33 a game or something. Second was your man's Jalen Brunson.
Oh, duh.
Luka fell down to like 5th or 6th, just given how many games he played. Ant was a little farther down than that. So I thought you were going to get it because of Brunson, not necessarily Embiid. But
okay, my easy question. What player is 5th? So in the league currently, most first-team All-NBAs. Okay? LeBron's 1, KD's 2, and then 3, 4, 5. Who's 5th currently active players in first-team All-NBAs? This is with 5. They stand alone. 5 first-team All-NBAs.
it's got to be Luka then, right? Final answer?
It is Luka. Luka, 5th active players in first-team All-NBAs, 25 years.
Did the league for 6 years. Like what?
Yeah. 6 years, 5 first-team All-NBAs.
That's insane. Oh. My medium question. This one's interesting. I don't know if you'll get this one. Who led the playoffs in assists per game?
Man. It's Luka. It's not Luka?
My hint is that it is not Luka. Assists per game.
We're going to go Tyrese Halliburton.
It was actually first round exit LeBron James. 8.8 assists per game. Jokic was second.
You would sneak that BS in there. All right. My medium question. First on the Celtics in rebounds was Jason Tatum in the finals. Who was second in rebounds for the Celtics in the NBA Finals?
Drew Holiday, final answer.
Drew Holiday, second.
Man, you give me too easy of questions, bro. I knew it was Drew Holiday because he had double-digit boards last night. He had double-digit boards in the Drew Holiday game of Game 3. So just from those 2 games alone, I knew it had to be him. My hard question. I will give you a hint for it, obviously, as well. The MLB leader in doubles. It is a player in the National League.
Marcell Ozuna, final answer.
Wrong.
Gah! Gah!
Hardest Hardos, we were talking about Marcell Ozuna beforehand, so that was a very good guess by Spinny. It is actually Philadelphia Phillies. Alec Baum leads the
Alec
MLB.
Baum?
Leads the MLB in doubles right now. Yes. Part of the reason why they have the best record in the MLB.
I would never have gotten that, so I'll
Sorry.
take my...
That might have been a little too hard.
No, that's okay. Okay. Guys that played every game in the finals, so they had to at least play in every game in the finals. Who led in 3-point percentage? This is minimum 2 threes attempted. I'm not going to count Derek Lively's 1 for 1 on this list. That's
What?
why we did minimum 2 threes attempted.
Best 3-point percentage. And
Yep.
it's a hard
Minimum
question.
2 threes attempted.
Minimum 2 threes attempted.
Yep.
Oh man. Sam Hauser, final answer?
Dang, that was a good one. I actually would have given you, there's 2 answers because they are both tied, and I would have given you
Okay.
either one. Dante Exum is one,
Okay.
and Xavier Tillman is the other.
Xavier
Tied
Tillman,
at
huh? Why?
66.7%.
Yeah, I was gonna say go 2 for
from
3. I knew
three.
it. God dang it.
Yeah. Xavier Tillman and Dante Exum.
What
Both
the
tied
hell?
at 67%.
That is definitely a hard question. Dante Exum, what? The hell are we talking
There you
about?
go.
Oh, that's hilarious. Well, that's a 3-0 dub for me, Spinny. You got 0 points, man. That's tough. My
Man,
questions were a little tougher than normal, I feel like. But I thought for sure you were getting Brunson, man, at least, because of all those
Brunson
40-point games he
was
had.
an awful miss. Awful. Sorry to my Nova guy on that. That was terrible.
Yeah. We're going to finish the Gustav episode 106 with headlines. We had to start with the finals since Spinny was so dang excited about the Celtics. Michael Bloomberg, Spinny, agrees to join Lori and A-Rod to buy the Timberwolves. Spinny, I think we're saved, man. I think we are finally saved.
I think we're finally saved. A little bit of a sketchy guy, but also got
Yeah, he
a
is.
shit ton of money, so screw it.
Whatever. Give us a couple $100 million, we'll call her good.
Yep.
I did see he is not going to have anything to do with the operations of the team at all. He's literally just giving some money. That's it.
Yep.
So, Danny Hurley has turned down 6 years, $70 million Lakers offer. There's talks that they're now going after JJ Redick, which was obviously the story beforehand, and James Borrego as their top 2 candidates. Spinny, man, I think this was kind of a whole giant smoke show from the get-go. I don't know how serious the Lakers were in even hiring this man, if that was their offer, because to me, that's kind of I don't know if disrespectful is the right word, but that's what I'm going to use. It was kind of a disrespectful offer, I thought, for a back-to-back defending champ. I know he doesn't have NBA coaching experience, but if you want to get him to leave, like, I mean, what are we talking about? That's barely over 10 mil a year. I felt like it needed to be more in that almost 14 mil a year range. So I thought this was almost a smoke show from the get-go, just to get Woj's story and to maybe get UConn to have to pay Hurley more.
It's just such a lame duck offer. Like, you're not getting him for that much. That's what pisses me off. It's like, you got to give the man at least $100 million to get him to up and move his family and leave the chance at a three-peat at one of the classically good college basketball schools. It's his dream job. He's making a shit ton of money in his dream job and doing really fucking good at it. It's like, he's not going to leave that for a $1 million raise when he's not going to leave that for a 10% raise or 5% raise. Like, you got to give this man a 50% raise if you're going to, like, be in the ballpark of what he wants. So, yeah, that perspective of it was really dumb. I kind of understand the perspective you made about Redick or Borrego or whoever you're going to pay. It's like, if we were only going to give Danny Hurley this much, like, you're not going to get in that range either. So I get that part of it. And maybe it's because, and maybe I'm sorry, his name is escaping me right now for some dumb reason. The Lakers GM.
Rob Blinka.
uh, Rob Pelinka. Maybe Rob Pelinka knows he has such bullshit job security that he doesn't care looking like an idiot, but he just comes out
Hey,
looking like an
maybe
idiot in this situation. But maybe that's his strat. Maybe he's like, you know what? I know I'm
that's
not
his
getting fired
strat.
anyway, so I can end up paying Reddick and Borrego less money, and all I got to do is look like an idiot. All right, I'm in. So I don't know. I guess that's the Pelinka strat at this point.
A Palika strat. Oh my god, I'm
Wild.
dead. That is hilarious. No, I completely agree with everything you just said, though. Last NBA news. Rest in peace to Mr. Clutch himself. The logo. The logo, Spinny. Rest in peace to Jerry West. This man played 14 years in the NBA. In 14 years, he made the finals 9 times. Unfortunately, went 1-8 because he lost many times to your Celtics. So 1-8 finals record for Jerry West. But still, he is the only player in NBA history to win Finals MVP on the losing team. He made an All-Star game in all 14 years. He made first team All NBA 10 times out of the 14 years. Second team twice. He was All NBA defensive first team 4 times. I mean, this is truly one of the best players of all time. Spinny. He won 8 titles as a executive. Most recently with the Warriors. 27 points per game, 7 assists, and 6 rebounds per game was his career stat line. So yeah, truly one of the best players of all time, and it makes sense why he was the logo. So man, mad respect to Jerry West. It's tough to see an icon like that leave the game and leave this world. Sorry.
So true. And I think the fact that he went to 20 finals combined as an executive and a player is insane. I've been trying to get the number. Do you know the total number of finals all time? I don't know that, but I'm guessing it's not over. So first one's probably in the late 40s. So we'll talk through that, late 40s to 24, 75, roughly in the 75-ish range. So the man's been almost to a third of the all-time NBA championships have involved Jerry West in some way or other, which is insane, 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 insane number.
Yeah,
R.I.P.
it's about 20%. We're
Yeah,
at about 80. We're close to 80 finals. So yeah,
yeah, 20% of all NBA finals all time in
all time.
yeah, in a 70, almost 80-year range, has 20 of them involved one man. Absolutely crazy from Jerry.
I mean, him winning Finals MVP on the losing team, I think that just says it all about the guy, honestly. And
Yes.
if you don't know anything about his personal life, I'd recommend looking into it a little bit. He really had a shitty personal life growing up. Next bit of news, jumping to the WNBA. Spinny Caitlin Clark was left off the U.S. Women's Olympic roster, and there's been a lot of coverage about this going on around the sports world. What are your thoughts about this?
Not a big deal. If you
Same.
look at the
I agree.
worst WNBA statistical player on Team USA right now, it's Diana Taurasi. Her and Caitlin Clark's stats this season, very, very similar.
Yeah.
Taurasi is obviously, 41
And
or
Taurasi, yeah,
42.
she gets the edge,
And
obviously.
she's a legend, and so she's
Yeah.
obviously going to get the edge in that way. Everybody else is doing better statistical wise or percentages wise or something in some way than Caitlin Clark. Obviously, Clark's averaging 15, 5, and 5, only one of 3 players currently in the WNBA to be doing that. So there's ways you could, say that she is being better, but for the most part, all the players are in some way can be described at this current moment as better than Caitlin Clark. So I get it. Now, do I think it would have been smart from publicity wise? Yes. I mean, I would even take an Angel Reese on the team as well, given the performance she's had this season. But I think having one of those two younger players who have really like made this change between those two and Brink and Juju, and you can talk about all those, but those two have predominantly been the main two through this whole thing. So I would have taken either of them on Team USA just from that perspective. But I also get why they did it.
Yeah,
I
no,
truly see both sides of it.
I completely with you. I don't think I don't think it's as big of a deal where you should be losing your mind over it. There's people that are like, "How is she not an Olympic team?" Blah 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 blah. Only pointing to the publicity and the marketability that you pointed to. Um, but I just simply don't think she's a top player in the WNBA yet. So I get it from that standpoint. I think construction wise of these Olympic rosters, though, I'd rather see 8 to 9 of the best players in the world. Right, you for sure want your best players in the league on the team, but then those last couple spots, they're not going to play anyways, right? So ideally, from a roster construction standpoint, I would like to see the last couple spots go to somebody like a Diana Taurasi, a legend, and then you throw in some young players. Like think back to the Dream Team, right? They let Christian Leitner come on the team, so like it's kind of been a thing throughout history to do that. I think the women's basketball, however, has not done that. That's more of a men's basketball thing. So I think women should kind of look into that a little more too, because it is a good a view of your league as a whole. I think if you get the young talent in there as well. So, but yeah, I don't think
Also,
it's that big of a deal.
people are using more predominantly Clark to, fuel some type of agenda, political agenda, and all this bullshit that we're seeing with that is it's insanely ridiculous. There's no conspiracy against Caitlin Clark. There's no bullshit, anything like that involving anything against white people or against conservatives or against blah 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 blah. Whatever the bullshit narratives are, there's nothing like in that range for me. And I think people that are using her for that are insanely ridiculous. And we're even seeing a little bit, much, 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 much less, but a little bit of people using Angel Reese in the same way. Like, if you like Angel Reese, you hate Caitlin Clark, or if you like Caitlin Clark,
Yeah,
you hate Angel Reese. It's like,
so
that's
dumb.
not how this works. That's not how this works at all. And I think it's stupid and ridiculous that people need to stop. And also, people need to talk more about the damn basketball than they do about the storylines. Caitlin Clark has been playing amazing these last about week or 2 weeks. Fever have won 5 of the last 10, 3 of the last 4. She's finally affecting winning. And the second best rookie in the WNBA is Angel Reese. She's averaging double-digit assists, or double-digit rebounds. She's averaging the double-double. Her percentages are up. You can see the impact and the changes in the training she's been making. Her post game has gotten actually good, and it's been super effective. And we can see what Clark looks like when she's not playing back to backs every second because they put Indiana on the TV every day at the beginning of the season. So let's talk about the basketball.
Facts. No, I completely agree. I'm glad you went on that little rant there, because it's the coverage she has received so far has been pretty ludicrous. They're not talking
And
about anything basketball related. They're just making shit up.
and I just want to make this clear before one last time. I want basketball players to talk about social issues that are important to them, and I think that part is important.
Correct.
But other people using them to talk about stuff that is not happening or stuff that those people do not want to be used for is the part of it I think is absolutely insane. So just wanted to make that distinction clear really quick.
Yes. Very well said. On to the NFL. Kirk Cousins' tampering situation has finally been settled. The Falcons were stripped of a 2025 fifth-round pick and fined $250,000. Spinny, was this punishment adequate or not?
I didn't think it was enough, really, because it wasn't
I
just
didn't think
Kirk.
so
It
either.
was 2 other players as well. And
Darnell Mooney and
yeah,
Charlie Warner.
yeah, Darnell Mooney was the big one. But I did not think, especially the Dolphins got a first round pick taken away for the Brady and Peyton situation in Miami, like 4 years ago, 3 years ago, and now this. I understand it's not quite that big, but a fifth round pick to a first round pick is a huge flipping difference.
They
I
had
thought a
a
second or third round pick for sure was going to be the deal here.
23 first round pick, 24 third round pick, and their owner was fined $1 million for
Yeah,
that Dolphins deal.
yeah, insane.
Now, I am seeing, so initially, that was my thoughts as well. It was like a fifth round pick. How does that make any sense? The report says the Falcons were not punished more severely because the violations are considered administrative, such as making travel arrangements after the players had agreed to contract terms. The NFL also did not find evidence there was contact with the players or their representatives prior to the free agency negotiating window opening. So that's the big point there, obviously. Going back to the Dolphins' point, the whole thing was that they were talking to Tom the whole time before the free agency window opened. The NFL apparently didn't find any evidence that they were talking to any of those three players beforehand. So that's why it
Okay,
was only
that
a
makes
fifth
a little
round
more
pick.
sense then. Okay.
Yeah. But still, it's like I don't know. I like at a minimum, I thought a third round pick or something. Like a fifth, that just
Yeah,
shocked me. I was like, what? This is not even a punishment.
literally.
Whatever. We move on as Vikings fans. Trevor Lawrence, last headline here, Spinny, for episode 106. Trevor Lawrence, 5 years, $275 million with $200 million guaranteed. Fourth quarterback in NFL history to make $200 million fully guaranteed. Sean Watson, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert are the other three. This is your man, Spinny, so I know you're okay with this contract, right?
Yeah, I mean, Lawrence has underperformed to what we thought he was going to be as a prospect so far. I mean,
Agreed.
it's hard to argue with that. I also think he has been the most stable quarterback the Jaguars franchise has ever had, and the most popular player the Jaguars franchise has ever had. And so I think from a franchise saving perspective, like if you told me before Lawrence that within 2 years the Jags were going to be in London, I would not have been surprised at all in any way. And now I think that kind of has changed the way he has changed the popularity of the team. That I think is true. I also think you're paying for what you think Lawrence is going to be in 2 or 3 years. And I think that that is much better than he is currently. Now, we're obviously just guessing with all this stuff, so it is what it is. But I think that's part of why you're paying him right now. And I also think it's good to pay him before Dak. We're paying him before Jordan Love. And we're paying him before Tua. So I think those three things are all good because that's a guy that is in the range with those three. And if those three are going to end up getting more money than Trevor Lawrence, then the Trevor Lawrence deal looks really good. So I think you paid him before a lot of his contemporaries as far as like the 8th through the 13th best quarterback right now today. And I think that Trevor has more of an upside than most of those guys do. You could argue Jordan Love.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with everything you said there. Um, it's definitely just an upside move here. I mean, he's based on what he's done in the league so far, he's definitely not worth that contract, but he's still young. He has shown signs of progressing to that. So, from that standpoint, especially when you're the frickin' Jacksonville Jaguars, who have never had a quarterback ever in their frickin' franchise history, it's probably a guy you want to lock up. So, I was initially taken back at the number, but as I thought about it a little more, it definitely makes sense from the Jaguars standpoint. So I'm with the contract. Well, Spinny, episode 106, man, that's a wrap. You got a Q&A, otherwise we'll get our listeners up out of here.
I have no Q&A today. We'll let the Hardys and Hardos go. Thank you
Celebrate
for
that.
listening.
Celebrate that championship,
Celebrate
Spinny.
that Celtics championship. Let's see if it works. Oh, it's letting me down today. Let's go. The Lasers are back for the C's. Let's get it.